31. We're here to continue our ongoing discussion on potential sales or leases of county-owned property. Our next item that we wanted to address was the properties that we had separated out the properties that we thought we might try to sell. We're still doing research on that. We separated out the one property up the river that we don't want to lease right now that we're thinking about a parking lot on. Today, our goal was to come up with an action plan on the remaining properties that we were going to continue leasing because they were FEMA properties, and that was our only. So that's kind of a summary of where we are on those. So, Commissioner, feel free to jump in any time with what your thoughts are. I think today we need to decide how we want to advertise the leases for transparency, and what process we want to take as far as bidding, and set a timeline for getting those advertising started. I'm hoping like we could agree to start something next week as far as advertising.
I would agree with that.
That makes sense
Yeah,
to
that
you.
makes sense to me.
Okay.
And those are on the properties that, the properties that we,
That were rented seasonally.
Seasonally, yep.
That were being rented seasonally for recreational purposes.
Okay.
We have the entire P&Z staff with us today, ladies and gentlemen. This is a fine moment in Shoshone County history. So, let's see. So, I'm just going to throw it out for discussion. I think we should probably look at a period of 2 weeks for advertising.
Okay.
And I think we should consider, of course, we can put it in a motion. I'm just discussing that we should probably do newspaper and our Facebook and our web page and every other place we can think of to advertise.
Yes, I agree with that. Are we gonna have a public auction, or are we gonna do a sealed bid? Or how do you think we should do that?
I'm kind of open. Whatever we do, it just needs to be transparent. So I guess one option would be to accept bids during that 2 weeks of advertising and then open the highest bid. The other one would be to have a live auction, which could limit the people who may or may not be able to travel here to the courthouse.
Exactly.
Or the third option would be to combine them and have accept bids, open them on the day of the auction, and let people continue to bid from there. But
I think that would probably be the best thing to do.
That would be all right. Well, I guess I'll make the first motion. I would motion that we make a final selection in the next 6-7 days on which properties that we felt were seasonal recreational properties, the ones along the river that have traditionally been rented during the summertime, that we make that final selection based off the list that we voted on in the past, in the last few weeks, and that we advertise those for 2 weeks in the newspaper and the web page and every other means we can to get the word out that anyone can bid on those properties.
I would second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No,
on that issue?
We'll just do a single motion on how we're going to auction it.
We'll do a separate motion for that.
Okay.
So this would just be the advertising. We're going to advertise for 2 weeks, multiple places, as many places as we can find. And we're going to advertise the recreational properties, the seasonal.
Okay.
Okay. Which we'll finalize that list with the help of P&Z.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion carries. Tracy? Nope. No comment from Tracy today. And Tracy could not be with us today. She's got some family stuff going on, I think. So, all right. Second motion, I guess we should consider is how we want to auction. What are you feeling?
I think we should do it exactly, the way we just talked about, is that we should accept sealed bids and then also have a live auction.
We open the bids.
We open the bids, and then if somebody else wants to bid higher at the live auction, that would sound fair.
Probably generate the most for the county. Of course, one of the goals is to generate resources for the county.
Yes.
To offset the constant increase in taxes here.
And then they'd still be we would still have the leases through October. the end of October, and then that would be it. It'd be from now to the end of October. So every year they would have to renew it. Well, it'd have to be
So,
re-auctioned.
so this year, understanding that they're getting July,
Yes.
August, September. What do you want what would be a logical date in October? October 1, October
31st.
There's P and Z. Any comments on as far as flooding or anything on some of these? Do we care? October?
We care, but no, there's no specific dates that matter. 'Cause
Or in the middle of November.
that's
It
early,
doesn't really.
early in the year, it's not, the likelihood is pretty low.
Yeah.
As far as issues go, but you're gonna have provisions in the lease anyway that your material goods need to be removed from the site during a flood. Whether that's in July or whether that's in November, so
Okay.
it's,
Okay.
P and Z, it's irrelevant.
All right. So let's say through October 31st for right now.
Okay.
Okay. So in 2 weeks' time, starting next week, we're advertising. 2 weeks from then, we're going to have this auction and we're going to lease the land. I think that we need to get P and Z's help to update the lease so that everybody in the county has the same lease instead of having the current system of 7 different leases, depending what year you leased and that.
I agree.
And we're going to let the market determine the price by the highest bidder. So, all right. So were you making a motion now? I got so excited thinking about what you said, I forgot. Was that a motion or was that an idea?
That was an idea, but I can do a motion that we
Accept bids?
accept the highest bid and do it by sealed bid and public auction.
Highest bid opened on the auction day and then a public auction to get final chance to bid. Okay, and that would be 2 weeks from next week
2 weeks from next
that
week.
we would do that auction. So that we'll have to determine what day we get the ad out. And and of course, next week we're sort of have a holiday and Board of Equalization all week. So we're gonna have to get some of that done this week.
Yep.
Get that plan. So Sydney will have to start working on the ad. So P and Z will have to narrow down the list of the 6 or 7 that we've decided. The ones that we've already taken out for sale or for holding won't be included, but okay. So you got that. You made that in the form of a motion then?
Yeah.
Do you have that motion down? Because I keep getting sidetracked with all the details. I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So to summarize, we're advertising for 2 weeks, starting next week. The final list of properties, I think it'd be wise to get P and Z's help to come up with a way to help. I don't think advertising by parcel number is as effective as if we could come up with addresses or maps or so people have an idea where these properties even exist. I mean, I had somebody write me a letter last week, an email asking about a piece that we own on the river that apparently we've done nothing with in the last few years. That's not a FEMA property, and so it didn't appear up on that list. So, okay, well, that should maximize the use of the land for this year, and then that would set a precedent that next year we could go ahead and start in March or something.
Yep.
And do the same thing for these FEMA properties that can only be leased.
Yep.
I'm not prepared to take any action on the other properties today, are you?
No.
Okay. You have any other thoughts on the process or anything that we've forgotten?
No.
We're gonna advertise and we're gonna bid and we're gonna let them have it from the close, the day of the bid until, and we're gonna get some help in the meantime with contracts. So, is that something you'd be willing to work on?
Yes.
Is an
I've already
updated,
worked on the contracts
a
and
general contract that works for everybody?
yep, it'll be the same one for everybody.
And have you get their input
Yeah,
on,
I'll get there.
so that we don't
That's
mess
a
up
good idea that.
the flood zone?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think the goal would eventually be to get everybody's, we had them starting every month of the year in the past. It would be nice if they all started on the same day and ended on the same day. And
Exactly.
then we advertise in the future so people know that every spring we advertise them. Every spring, everybody has a chance
Yep.
to bid on them.
Okay.
All right. All right, now comes the exciting part. I'm gonna open it up for public comment. And we'll limit that to 2 minutes and no crying.
Where does funds go for? You have any idea what department, what funds this goes into?
I don't know where it's been going.
I don't either.
I mean, it's going into the county pot, but don't know where it's been going. I can,
Off the pot.
into the general pot.
Yeah.
My personal goal would be that we start to somehow start corralling these resources so that we could identify them as income from the river that we could use for recreational purposes, like whether it's parking lots or bathrooms or trash or waste management or
Just I've never
police,
I've
law
never seen
enforcement.
it listed as revenue anyway.
That's a good question. That would be one for the clerk who does the budget, but that would be one for us to find out during the budget process. Okay, anything further?
Nope, that's it.
So
Dawn?
do I understand that the one land is going to be set aside for parking? For county parking to do?
To be fair, I think we're saying we're setting it aside with the hopes of parking, but we still have all the research to do, so we're not doing anything with that land at this point. We're not leasing it.
Okay.
That was voted on
But
a few
the
weeks ago.
County's keeping it in.
The
there.
county's gonna keep it in their possession.
Yeah.
While we do the research for the idea of that. Yeah, any further questions?
Answer mine right there.
Steve, any?
Are you guys gonna set a minimum bid for either the sealed bids or the auction based on fair market value somehow?
Well, we've already voted not to. And my thinking on that was if we set a minimum bid and nobody bid it, then the county would be sitting there holding vacant land that nobody was using. So I'm going to say fair market is what the highest bidder was willing to pay.
Mhm.
Especially while we get new at this. And it's a short year. They're only getting part of July through October.
That makes
And so the value may go down this year because we took a while to get this done. But next year, I think we could revisit whether we think there's a minimum bid. But then the problem is if nobody meets it, county loses.
Finger holding the
The
bag.
county loses all resources that we could have gained from it. So
Another question just occurred to me. Would it be appropriate to advertise this out of state? Possibly attract more bidders.
I'm not really interested in that at this point, but I don't know if you are.
No, I'm not, yeah, we're at a short timeline right now. I think we'll just do our regular.
Yeah,
public.
that might be a future consideration, but right,
You're not gonna have any trouble finding bidders.
I think we'll have plenty of people in our own county that are interested.
Yeah.
And our local paper and website, you know, that goes out. People in the surrounding counties should see some of that. So, thank you.
That's it.
Well,
I'm good.
You're good?
I don't have anything, obviously. I'm just here to see if there's any discussion or anything in regards to that feeling.
Yeah, I think we honestly haven't had time to do any research. I think the plan is still to do the research, make a plan, invite the neighbors in, share the plan, get their input. So we're still where we were. We just haven't progressed. And it's not for lack of trying. It's for all these doggone legal duties we're expected to meet, like tax assessment and hearings and these things that keep coming up. But so for right now, that would just sit empty with while we're doing the research. But thank you for taking the time to be here. Any comments from P and Z today?
We had worked with Tracy over the past couple of, I don't know, week or so, a bit on refining that list down to some categories, and we'd refine that list to the ones that recreational should be leased, ones we should be looking at for our county development, and then the ones that are most likely to either not be leased or to be offered to the adjacent property owners for a longer term lease. So breaking them down into those 4 categories, we've got those identified out so that we can then make a final choice on which ones are gonna go out for recreation, and we'll have just the information for those.
Okay.
And we've got some maps here that goes with it.
Okay.
So I think at next week's meeting, we'll approve that list after all 3 commissioners have had a chance to sit down with you one at a time and look at it.
Mhm.
And then we'll, at next week's meeting, approve that list and then the advertising will go out based on that. But thank you for doing that. I wasn't sure if that was completed with Tracy gone. I couldn't ask, so appreciate it.
So we'll need to put together the advertising, because you'll need to get that advertising in like next Friday
Mhm.
in order for it to hit the following week. Unless we back up, if you're planning to start the advertising,
We might want to start putting that together.
that ad has to go to the paper. The noticing has to go this week.
And we're not gonna be able to do that until we approve the list.
Yeah, we'll have to do that next week. Yeah.
So, but we could get all the legwork done and have the ads created.
So they're gonna, so your motion was to start next week with the advertising, but,
So it will start next week at the end of the week, the advertising, right?
no, because it takes a week to get the notice to the paper for them to.
But we could start on the
run
webpage.
advertising.
We could get the web
Yeah.
stuff out.
Yeah, because really right now, we're not leasing them over 5 years, so Idaho code basically tells us if we, we have to do a public notice if we lease over 5 years. It has to go out for public notice, but we're only leasing them for a year, so I don't think that would
So you're
require.
required to do the legal notice, like, for hearing.
Yeah, we're more interested in the publicity of everybody
Yeah.
knowing it's an option.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah.
For always thinking about the law. We appreciate that. That's an actual benefit to actually keep thinking about what the law
Mhm.
says. So we actually stick to it. So has this all been clear as mud for you?
Yes.
You got it?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Everybody's had a chance to comment. And so we are going to adjourn this meeting. And then we have some legwork to do by next